The attraction law, the hidden force that shapes your reality. Introduction, the hidden current. There is a force moving through your life right now, invisible, silent, yet more powerful than any physical law you have ever witnessed. It does not announce itself with fanfare. It does not demand recognition. Yet every moment of your existence, every circumstance you encounter, every person who crosses your path, every opportunity that arrives or vanishes, all of it bends to this force. This is the law of attraction. And tonight, as you listen to these words, you are about to discover truths that have been hidden from most of humanity, secrets that once understood will change the very fabric of your reality. You did not arrive here by accident. Something within you has been calling out for answers. Perhaps you have felt it, a stirring deep in your chest, a whisper that there must be more to existence than what you have been taught. You have looked around at your life and wondered why certain patterns repeat, why some doors remain closed while others swing open effortlessly for those around you. You have asked the universe why abundance flows to some while others struggle endlessly. These questions have brought you here to this very moment, and the universe is about to answer. The law of attraction is not a recent discovery, though modern minds treat it as novelty. It is ancient, woven into the very structure of existence itself. Long before it had a name, before philosophers attempted to capture it in words, before scientists tried to measure its effects, this law was operating. It shaped the rise and fall of civilizations. It determined the fate of kings and peasants alike. It has always been the hidden architecture beneath what most call reality. Think of your life as a vast ocean. On the surface, waves rise and fall, storms gather and disperse, currents shift and change direction. To the untrained eye, it all appears chaotic, random, subject to forces beyond control. But beneath that churning surface exists a deeper truth. The ocean moves according to laws that never waver. Tides obey the pull of the moon. Currents follow patterns etched into the Earth's rotation. Temperature gradients create predictable flows. What seems like chaos on the surface is actually perfect order. When viewed from a deeper understanding, your life operates the same way. The circumstances that surround you, the people who populate your world, the opportunities that materialize or evaporate, none of it is random. All of it follows the law of attraction with mathematical precision. You have been creating your reality all along, though you may not have realized it. Every thought you have held, every emotion you have carried, every belief you have accepted as truth, these have been sending signals out into the field of infinite possibility. And that field has been responding, arranging circumstances, orchestrating encounters, shaping your experience to match the frequency you broadcast. This is not metaphor. It is not wishful thinking or spiritual fantasy. The law of attraction is as real as gravity, as measurable as magnetism, as undeniable as the fact that you exist in this moment. The difference is that gravity pulls objects toward the earth, regardless of your awareness. Magnetism attracts iron to a lodestone, whether you understand the physics or not. But the law of attraction requires something more. It requires consciousness. It requires awareness. It requires deliberate alignment. And most importantly, it requires you to wake up from the dream of victimhood and step into the truth of your creative power. For too long, humanity has walked through life asleep. We have been taught that we are subject to fate, that circumstances happen to us, that we are powerless against the tides of fortune. We have been conditioned to believe that success is for the lucky few, that abundance is scarce, that we must struggle and fight for every scrap of what we desire. These teachings have kept us small, kept us afraid, kept us perpetually reaching for a happiness that seems always just beyond our grasp. But these teachings are lies, comfortable lies that excuse us from responsibility, but lies nonetheless. The truth is far more magnificent and far more terrifying. The truth is that you are not a victim of your circumstances. You are the architect of them. You are not at the mercy of fate. You are fate's author. The power to create, to manifest, to attract the life you desire has always resided within you. It has never been absent. You simply forgot how to use it. You forgot the language that reality speaks. You forgot that your thoughts are not mere whispers in the void, but commands issued to the universe itself. Tonight, you are going to remember. As you drift between waking and sleep, as your conscious mind releases its grip on control, the deeper truths will begin to seep into your awareness. The gates of your subconscious will open, and the ancient knowledge that has always lived within you will start to stir. You will begin to see the invisible threads connecting your inner world to your outer experience. You will start to notice how every result in your life can be traced back to a vibration you once held, a thought you once entertained, a belief you once accepted as real. This understanding will change everything. When you truly grasp that you are not separate from your reality, but intimately connected to it, when you see that your consciousness is not confined to the space between your ears, but extends outward to touch everything in your experience, when you realize that the universe is not indifferent to your desires, but actively responsive to your frequency, everything shifts. The sense of powerlessness dissolves. The fear that has driven so many of your choices begins to lose its grip. The resignation that has colored your days with gray starts to lift, revealing a world painted in colors you had forgotten existed. But this awakening comes with responsibility. Once you know the truth, you can no longer hide behind ignorance. You can no longer blame your circumstances on bad luck or cruel fate. You must face the mirror of reality and recognize that what you see reflected back is the result of vibrations you yourself have been sending out. This can be difficult at first. The ego resists taking ownership. It is much easier to point fingers outward than to turn your gaze inward. But this resistance is the final barrier between you and true freedom. For when you accept that you have been creating your reality all along, you also accept that you can change it. If your thoughts and emotions and beliefs have shaped what you currently experience, then new thoughts, new emotions, new beliefs will shape new experiences. The power has always been yours. You simply did not know how to wield it. But tonight, that ignorance ends. Tonight, you begin to learn the hidden language of attraction. Tonight, you start to speak in the frequency that the universe cannot help but answer. The journey ahead will take you deep. You will explore the ancient origins of this law, discover how modern science is beginning to validate what mystics have always known, learn to recognize the shadow patterns that have been sabotaging your manifestations, and master the art of becoming the very thing you wish to attract. Each revelation will peel away another layer of illusion until you stand naked before the truth of your own creative power. So listen now, not just with your ears, but with your entire being. Feel the weight of these words settling into your bones. Notice how something within you recognizes their truth even as your logical mind might resist. That recognition is your soul remembering what it has always known. You are not here to learn something new. You are here to remember something ancient. The law of attraction is not a foreign concept being imposed upon you. It is your birthright being returned to you. As the night deepens and sleep begins to claim you, these truths will continue their work. They will bypass the defenses of your conscious mind and plant themselves in the fertile soil of your subconscious. There, in that hidden garden, they will take root. And when you wake, something will have changed. The world will look different. Not because the world has changed, but because you have begun to see it through new eyes. Eyes that recognize their own power. Eyes that understand the game that has been playing all along. Eyes that can finally see the invisible currents that shape everything. The universe has been waiting for you to wake up. It has been waiting for you to remember who you are and what you are capable of. That waiting is over. The remembering has begun. And once it begins, it cannot be stopped. You are crossing a threshold from which there is no return. On the other side of this threshold lies a life beyond what you have imagined possible. A life where synchronicities become commonplace, where desires manifest with increasing speed, where abundance flows naturally because you have aligned yourself with its frequency. This is not fantasy. This is your destiny calling you home to yourself. The hidden current is already flowing. It has always been flowing. The only question is whether you will continue to drift unconsciously upon its waters, or whether you will learn to navigate its depths with deliberate intention. Tonight, you make that choice. Tonight, you begin to master the law of attraction. Tonight, your reality starts to change. Chapter 1. The Ancient Origins of Attraction. Long before the phrase law of attraction was ever spoken, before modern teachers wrote their books and filmed their documentaries, before seminars filled with seekers desperate for change, this principle was known. It was whispered in the mystery schools of ancient Egypt, chanted in the temples of forgotten gods, carved into stones that have long since crumbled to dust. The knowledge you are about to receive is not new. It is ancient beyond measure, passed down through generations of initiates who understood what the masses could not see. In the sands of Egypt, where pyramids still stand as monuments to a civilization that grasped truths, we are only now beginning to rediscover. The concept of Ma'at held sacred importance. Ma'at was the goddess of truth, justice, and cosmic order. But she was more than a deity to be worshipped. She represented a fundamental understanding that the universe operates according to precise laws, and that human beings could align themselves with these laws to create harmony or violate them to invite chaos. The Egyptians believed that thoughts held power, that intentions shaped outcomes, that the mental realm was not separate from the physical, but intimately connected to it. Every ritual they performed, every symbol they carved, every prayer they whispered was an acknowledgement of this truth. Travel eastward to ancient India, and you find the concept woven into the very fabric of spiritual teaching. The Vedas, those ancient texts that predate recorded history, speak of karma, the law of cause and effect. But karma is not merely about moral consequences for actions taken. At its deepest level, karma recognizes that everything we think, everything we feel, everything we intend sends ripples through the fabric of existence. These ripples return to their source, amplified and transformed, manifesting as the circumstances of our lives. The sages who meditated in caves and forests understood what modern minds struggle to accept, that the inner world creates the outer world, that consciousness is not a passive observer, but an active creator. In ancient Greece, philosophers like Plato and Pythagoras explored similar territory. Plato spoke of the realm of ideas, a dimension where perfect forms existed before manifesting in the physical world. He understood that what we experience with our senses is merely a shadow cast by something more real, more fundamental. Pythagoras, who is remembered for mathematical theorems, was actually a mystic who taught his followers that numbers were not mere abstractions, but living principles that governed all of existence. He believed that by aligning thought with cosmic harmonies, one could influence the very structure of reality. But perhaps the most direct ancient expression of what we now call the law of attraction comes from Hermetic philosophy. Hermes Trismegistus, whether he was one man or a tradition carried by many, left teachings that have echoed through the centuries. The Emerald Tablet, that mysterious text that has inspired alchemists and mystics for millennia, contains the famous axiom, "As above, so below, as below, so above." This is not mere poetry. It is a declaration of the fundamental principle that underlies the law of attraction. The inner world mirrors the outer world. The microcosm reflects the macrocosm. What you hold in consciousness must manifest in experience, because there is no separation between the two. The Hermetic principles went further, articulating 7 fundamental laws that govern existence. Among them was the principle of mentalism, which states that all is mind, that the universe itself is mental in nature. If this is true, and the ancient teachings insist it is, then thought is not a byproduct of matter, but the very substance from which matter emerges. Your thoughts are not inconsequential vapor, they are the raw material of creation itself. This is why the mystics guarded their minds so carefully, why they practiced disciplines that seem extreme to modern sensibilities. They knew what we have forgotten, that an undisciplined mind creates an undisciplined reality. As centuries passed, these teachings went underground. They became secret, hidden from the masses who were not ready to handle such power. Mystery schools emerged across the ancient world. In Egypt and Greece, in Persia and India, in lands whose names have been forgotten by history. Initiates who wished to learn the deeper truths had to prove themselves worthy. They underwent trials that tested not just their courage, but their character. They learned to guard their thoughts, to purify their emotions, to align their will with cosmic principles. Only then were they given access to the most closely guarded secrets, the techniques for consciously creating reality, for manifesting desired outcomes, for bending the apparently fixed rules of the material world. These initiates did not call it the law of attraction. They had other names for it, other ways of articulating the same fundamental truth. But the essence remained constant. Thought creates. Emotion amplifies, belief solidifies. When these 3 elements align, when they point in the same direction with unwavering focus, reality has no choice but to respond. The physical world is not fixed and solid as it appears. It is actually fluid, malleable, responsive to consciousness. Those who master their inner state can shape their outer experience. The ancient teachings also warned of dangers. Power without wisdom is destruction. The ability to manifest without the moral foundation to guide that ability leads to disaster. This is why the knowledge was restricted, why only those who had demonstrated ethical development were given access to the deeper practices. The universe does not judge the content of what you attract. It simply responds to your vibration. You can attract wealth or poverty, health or disease, love or loneliness, peace or chaos. The mechanism is the same. What differs is only the frequency you broadcast. Throughout the Dark Ages, when organized religion dominated and anything that suggested human beings might possess godlike creative power was deemed heresy, these teachings survived in secret. Alchemists, who appeared to be searching for methods to turn lead into gold, were actually pursuing something far more valuable. The transmutation of base metals was a metaphor for the transmutation of consciousness. They understood that if you could transform your inner state, if you could refine the crude matter of unconscious thought into the gold of deliberate intention, you could create anything. The philosopher's stone they sought was not a physical object, but a state of awareness from which manifestation became effortless. The Renaissance brought a resurgence of interest in these ancient ideas. As humanity emerged from centuries of intellectual suppression, thinkers began to explore the relationship between mind and matter once again. The seeds were planted for what would eventually become the New Thought movement, but that development was still centuries away. For now, the knowledge remained primarily in the hands of those who actively sought it, who delved into esoteric texts, who found teachers willing to guide them through the mysteries. It was not until the 19th century that these ideas began to surface in a form accessible to the general public. The phrase "law of attraction" first appeared in print in 1877 in a book written by Helena Blavatsky, a Russian mystic who had traveled the world collecting wisdom from diverse traditions. She spoke of an attracting power that existed between components of spirit. Though her articulation differed from how we understand the concept today, she laid the foundation. She dared to speak openly about principles that had been whispered only in secret for millennia. The New Thought movement gained momentum in America during the late 1800s and early 1900s. Phineas Quimby, a healer who discovered that beliefs about illness could create or cure disease, became a pioneering figure. He realized that what people thought about their conditions had more influence on their health than any medicine. His work inspired others, including Mary Baker Eddy, who founded Christian Science, and numerous writers and speakers who began to articulate the power of positive thinking. William Walker Atkinson, writing under various pseudonyms including Yogi Ramacharaka, produced extensive works on thought vibration and the law of attraction. His book, Thought Vibration, or The Law of Attraction in the Thought World, published in the early 20th century, provided one of the first comprehensive examinations of how mental states create physical reality. He drew connections between emerging scientific understanding and ancient mystical wisdom, creating a bridge that made these ideas more acceptable to the rational Western mind. Wallace Wattles wrote The Science of Getting Rich in 1910, outlining practical principles for attracting wealth through mental discipline. He emphasized gratitude, visualization, and unwavering faith as essential elements. His work influenced countless seekers and remains remarkably relevant more than a century later. Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich, published in 1937, brought these ideas to even wider audiences. Hill had studied the lives of successful individuals for decades and distilled their common practices into principles that anyone could apply. At the core of his teaching was the recognition that thought is the starting point of all achievement. Norman Vincent Peale's The Power of Positive Thinking in 1952 brought the concept into mainstream consciousness. Though grounded in Christian theology, His message was essentially the same as that of the ancient mystics. Your mental attitude shapes your experience. Hold thoughts of lack, and lack manifests. Hold thoughts of abundance, and abundance flows. The mechanism is impersonal, responsive only to the vibration you emit. But it was not until the 21st century that the law of attraction truly captured global attention. In 2006, a documentary film called The Secret was released, followed by a book of the same name. Created by Rhonda Byrne, it featured teachers and authors discussing the law of attraction in accessible terms. The film went viral, reaching millions of people who had never encountered these ideas before. Suddenly, vision boards and affirmations and manifestation practices became commonplace. The ancient secret was secret no more. Yet something was lost in this popularization. The depth, the nuance, the responsibility inherent in these teachings often got glossed over in favor of simplistic formulas. Make a vision board and wealth will appear. Think positive thoughts and all problems will dissolve. The universe will deliver everything you want if you just believe hard enough. These oversimplifications led to disappointment when results did not materialize as promised. People began to dismiss the law of attraction as fantasy, as wishful thinking for the gullible. But the failure was not in the law itself. The law still operates with perfect precision. The failure was in the understanding, in the application, in the depth of commitment required. The ancient initiates spent years preparing their minds and hearts before attempting to consciously manifest desired outcomes. They understood that surface-level positive thinking could not override deeply embedded patterns of belief. They knew that emotion was more powerful than thought, that feeling was more influential than mere wishing. And so we find ourselves here, at a unique moment in human history. The ancient wisdom has been revealed. The secret has been shouted from rooftops. Nearly everyone has heard of the law of attraction, yet most still struggle to make it work. They try affirmations that feel empty. They create vision boards that gather dust. They visualize outcomes while their emotional state screams the opposite message. And then they wonder why nothing changes. The answer lies in returning to the depth that characterized the ancient teachings while embracing the understanding that modern science now provides. We must go beyond surface techniques to the fundamental principles. We must recognize that the law of attraction is not a magic wand to be waved at problems, but a truth about how consciousness interacts with reality. When we align with this truth at every level of our being, when thought and emotion and belief and action all point in the same direction, manifestation becomes not just possible, but inevitable. The ancients knew this. They lived it. They passed it down through generations, always with the warning that this knowledge must be earned, must be integrated, must be embodied before its full power can be accessed. We stand on their shoulders now, inheritors of wisdom that stretches back to the dawn of human consciousness. The question is whether we will honor that inheritance by going deeper than superficial understanding, or whether we will continue to treat it as spiritual entertainment, something to dabble in without true commitment. The choice is yours. But know this: the law of attraction is operating in your life right now. Whether you believe in it or not, whether you understand it or not, whether you consciously work with it or not, it has been shaping your reality since the moment you drew your first breath. The only question is whether you will continue to use it unconsciously, creating by default, or whether you will step into deliberate creation, manifesting by design. The ancient teachers are calling to you across millennia whispering the same message they always have. You are more powerful than you know. Wake up, remember, create. Chapter 2. The Science Behind the Invisible Pull. For centuries, the law of attraction remained in the realm of mysticism and spirituality, inaccessible to those who demanded scientific proof before accepting anything as true. Skeptics dismissed it as wishful thinking, as confirmation bias, as the desperate fantasies of people unwilling to accept their powerlessness. But something remarkable has been happening over the past 100 years. The more deeply science has probed the nature of reality, the more it has discovered evidence that supports what the mystics have always claimed. The invisible world, it turns out, is not empty at all. It is teeming with energy, vibrating with potential, responsive to consciousness in ways that defy our common sense understanding of how things work. The journey began in the early 20th century with the birth of quantum mechanics. Before this revolution in physics, the universe seemed to operate like clockwork. Newton had given us laws that predicted motion with mathematical precision. Matter was solid, separate, obeying fixed rules. The observer was irrelevant, merely watching a mechanical drama unfold. But when scientists began examining the behavior of particles at the smallest scales, everything changed. The neat, predictable universe shattered, revealing something far stranger underneath. In 1920, physicists Niels Bohr and Werner Heisenberg proposed the Copenhagen interpretation of quantum mechanics. At its heart was a staggering claim. A particle does not exist in one definite state until it is observed. Before observation, it exists in a superposition of all possible states simultaneously. The act of observation collapses these possibilities into a single reality. Read that again slowly, because the implications are profound. Consciousness, the simple act of observation, determines which potential becomes actual. The observer is not separate from what is observed. The observer influences, even creates, what is observed. This is not philosophy. This is physics. Experiments have confirmed it again and again. The famous double-slit experiment shows that particles behave differently when observed versus when unobserved. When no one watches, an electron behaves like a wave, passing through both slits simultaneously and creating an interference pattern. But when observation occurs, the electron behaves like a particle, going through one slit or the other. The electron somehow knows it is being watched and changes its behavior accordingly. How is this possible unless consciousness and matter are interacting at a fundamental level? The observer effect, as it came to be called, sent shockwaves through the scientific community. It suggested that the hard boundary between subject and object, between mind and matter, was illusory. At the quantum level, everything is interconnected. Everything is influencing everything else. And consciousness is not separate from the physical world, but intimately woven into it. For those familiar with the law of attraction, this sounded remarkably familiar. What you focus upon becomes your reality. What you observe with sustained attention manifests in your experience. The mystics had been saying this for thousands of years. Now physics was providing evidence. But the implications went even further. Quantum entanglement, another phenomenon that Einstein himself found so disturbing he called it spooky action at a distance, revealed that particles once connected remain connected regardless of how far apart they become. Change the state of one particle, and its entangled partner instantly reflects that change, faster than light could travel between them. This violated everything classical physics said about how information moves through space. But experiments confirmed it beyond doubt. At the quantum level, separation is an illusion. Everything that has ever been connected remains connected. We live in a universe where apparent distance is not the barrier it appears to be. Consider what this means for the law of attraction. If everything emerged from the Big Bang, if all matter and energy burst forth from a single point, then at some level everything is still entangled. Everything is still connected. Your thoughts, which are electrochemical events in your brain, which are quantum events at their most fundamental level, are not confined to your skull. They are part of the field. They ripple outward, influencing and being influenced by everything around you. The boundaries you perceive between yourself and the world are constructs of perception, not features of ultimate reality. Max Planck, often called the father of quantum physics, made a statement that should have shattered the materialist worldview forever. "I regard consciousness as fundamental," he said. "I regard matter as derivative from consciousness. We cannot get behind consciousness." Everything that we talk about, everything that we regard as existing, postulates consciousness. Read that statement from one of the most brilliant physicists in history. Consciousness is primary. Matter is secondary, not the other way around. This is exactly what the ancient Hermetic principle of mentalism declared. All is mind. The universe is mental in nature. Albert Einstein, despite his discomfort with some implications of quantum mechanics, also recognized the interconnected nature of reality. His theory of relativity revealed that space and time are not fixed containers, but flexible dimensions that bend and curve in the presence of mass and energy. E equals mc squared, his famous equation, demonstrates that matter and energy are interchangeable. The solid, fixed, separate world of our everyday experience is actually a dance of energy, a field of infinite potential taking temporary form. And within that field, consciousness operates as a force that shapes outcomes. Throughout the 20th century, various physicists explored the connection between quantum mechanics and consciousness. Fritjof Capra wrote The Tao of Physics in 1975, drawing parallels between modern physics and Eastern mysticism. Gary Zukav's The Dancing Wu Li Masters followed in 1979, making similar connections accessible to general readers. These works demonstrated that the gap between science and spirituality was closing. What had seemed like opposite domains were actually describing the same reality from different angles. More recently, physicists and consciousness researchers have proposed that the quantum field, that invisible ocean of potential from which particles emerge, might be influenced by thought and emotion. Every thought you think creates an electromagnetic signal. Your brain produces measurable electrical activity. Your heart generates an even stronger electromagnetic field that extends several feet beyond your body. These are not metaphors, these are measurable phenomena. And if everything is ultimately energy, if the quantum field responds to observation, then why would it not respond to the sustained electromagnetic signals generated by focused thought and elevated emotion? This is where the law of attraction finds scientific grounding. You are not separate from the field. You are an expression of the field, temporarily localized, but never truly disconnected. The thoughts and emotions you hold consistently create a vibrational pattern, an electromagnetic signature that broadcasts into the field. And the field, being responsive at the quantum level, begins to arrange circumstances, draw opportunities, magnetize people and events that match your predominant frequency. This is not magic. This is the natural consequence of living in a universe where consciousness and matter are not separate but interwoven. Neuroscience has also contributed insights that support the law of attraction. Research into neuroplasticity has shown that your brain literally rewires itself based on your habitual thoughts and focus. Neural pathways that are used repeatedly strengthen. Those that are neglected weaken and eventually dissolve. This means that what you think about regularly becomes easier to think about, while thoughts you avoid become less accessible. Your habitual mental patterns create grooves in your brain, and these grooves channel your perceptions, your interpretations, your responses to everything you experience. The reticular activating system in your brain acts as a filter, determining what information reaches your conscious awareness. You are bombarded with billions of bits of sensory information every second. Your conscious mind can only process a tiny fraction of that data. So your brain filters, letting through what it deems important based on your beliefs, your values, your current focus. This is why when you buy a new car, you suddenly see that model everywhere. The cars were always there, but your brain was not filtering them into your conscious awareness until they became relevant to you. Now apply this to the law of attraction. When you hold a clear, emotionally charged vision of what you desire, you are programming your reticular activating system to notice opportunities related to that vision. Chances that you would have walked past suddenly become visible. Conversations that would have gone unheard suddenly capture your attention. Synchronicities multiply not because the universe is randomly gifting you coincidences, but because your brain is now tuned to perceive them. You are literally seeing a different reality than you saw before, not because the external world changed, but because your internal filtering system changed. The placebo effect provides another scientific window into how belief shapes reality. Give a person a sugar pill, but tell them it is powerful medicine, and a significant percentage will experience real healing. Their belief in the treatment triggers physiological changes. Pain decreases. Symptoms improve. Sometimes conditions resolve completely. The body responds to what the mind believes. This has been documented in countless studies. It is no longer controversial. It is established fact. Your beliefs about what is possible directly influence what your body can do. Extend this principle beyond individual healing to life circumstances. If belief can influence physiology, if thought patterns can rewire neural structures, if focus determines what opportunities you notice, then sustained belief in desired outcomes, combined with elevated emotions and consistent mental discipline, must influence the unfolding of your life. The mechanism is not separate from the scientific understanding of how consciousness and reality interact. It is a natural expression of that interaction. Quantum biology, an emerging field, is revealing even more connections. Researchers are discovering that quantum effects are not confined to the microscopic world of particles. They appear to play a role in biological processes like photosynthesis, bird navigation, and possibly even human consciousness itself. If quantum processes are happening in living systems, if coherence at the quantum level contributes to life's functioning, then the idea that consciousness can influence reality at the quantum level becomes not just plausible, but expected. The double-slit experiment has even been extended to show that human intention can influence quantum events. Experiments conducted at Princeton University and other institutions have demonstrated that focused intention can affect the behavior of random number generators, which operate based on quantum uncertainty. The effect size is small, but it is statistically significant and has been replicated. This suggests that consciousness can reach into the quantum realm and nudge probabilities in one direction or another. If we can influence quantum randomness, we can influence anything that emerges from quantum possibilities, which is everything. String theory and quantum field theory suggest that what we perceive as empty space is actually seething with virtual particles, constantly emerging from and returning to the quantum vacuum. The entire universe is sustained by this invisible field of infinite potential. We are swimming in a sea of creative possibility every moment. And if consciousness interacts with this field, if observation collapses wave functions, if intention influences quantum probabilities, then we are constantly, whether we know it or not, participating in the creation of our experienced reality. None of this makes the law of attraction a proven scientific fact in the way that gravity or electromagnetism are proven. Science moves slowly, and the subjective nature of consciousness makes it difficult to study with purely objective methods. But the pieces are coming together. The evidence is mounting. What once seemed like mystical fantasy is increasingly looking like a deeper understanding of how reality actually works. Consciousness is not a mere byproduct of matter. It is fundamental, and if consciousness is fundamental, then the sustained focus of conscious awareness must have effects that ripple through the fabric of existence. This is where science and ancient wisdom shake hands. The mystics who taught that thought creates reality were not spinning fantasies. They were describing their direct experience of how consciousness operates. And now, slowly, carefully, science is arriving at similar conclusions through its own methods. The universe is not dead matter obeying mechanical laws. It is alive with potential, responsive to awareness, dancing between order and possibility. And we, conscious beings capable of directed attention and sustained emotion, are not passive observers of this dance. We are participants, co-creators, shaping the patterns that emerge through the quality of consciousness we bring to each moment. So, when skeptics dismiss the law of attraction as unscientific, they are arguing from outdated assumptions about how reality works. They are clinging to a Newtonian worldview that quantum physics shattered a century ago. The truth is more beautiful and more empowering than the mechanical universe of classical physics. We live in a cosmos that responds to consciousness, where observation matters, where focus creates, where sustained attention and elevated emotion are not powerless but potent forces for shaping experience. This scientific understanding does not diminish the mystery. If anything, it deepens it. We stand at the intersection of mind and matter, thought and form, consciousness and creation. The ancient teachers knew this intersection intimately. Modern science is beginning to map its territories. And you, listening to these words, learning these principles, are being invited to explore this intersection for yourself, to conduct your own experiments in consciousness, to discover through direct experience that you are not separate from the reality you perceive, but intimately involved in its continuous creation. The invisible pull is not so invisible anymore. It has left fingerprints all over the experiments of quantum physics, the findings of neuroscience, the phenomena of biology. The universe is calling out its own nature, declaring through 1,000 discoveries that consciousness matters, that you matter, that what you think and feel and believe is not inconsequential, but foundational to the reality you experience. This is not belief, this is evidence. This is the cutting edge of scientific understanding, pointing toward what the mystics have always known. You are a creative force, and it is time you learn to wield that force with wisdom and intention. Chapter 3. The frequency of desire. Everything vibrates. This is not metaphor. From the subatomic particles that compose your body to the thoughts flowing through your mind, everything is in constant motion, oscillating at specific frequencies. You are not a solid object occupying space. You are a pattern of energy, a symphony of vibrations temporarily organized into the form you call yourself. And the particular frequencies you emit, determined by your habitual thoughts and emotions, broadcast into the field like a radio signal. The universe, tuned to receive all frequencies, responds by sending back experiences that match your broadcast. This is the frequency of desire, and mastering it is the key to deliberate manifestation. When you desire something, you are actually feeling the frequency of that thing. Desire is not merely a mental concept or intellectual preference. It is a vibrational state. Think about something you deeply want. Notice what happens in your body. There is a feeling, an energy, a resonance. That feeling is you beginning to attune to the frequency of what you desire. If you could sustain that feeling, if you could hold that vibrational state consistently, the law of attraction would have no choice but to deliver experiences that match it. The challenge is that most people hold the feeling for a moment and then immediately drop back into their habitual frequency, which is often one of lack, doubt, or resignation. Consider water seeking its level. Pour it into a container and it conforms to the shape while maintaining its essential nature. It always flows to the lowest point available. Energy operates similarly. It flows along established pathways, seeks familiar patterns, returns to habitual frequencies. Your emotional set point, the baseline feeling you return to when not actively focused on something else, is like water's natural level. And that set point determines what you attract far more powerfully than your occasional positive thoughts or visualization exercises. You can think about wealth for 5 minutes while creating a vision board. But if you spend the other 23 hours and 55 minutes each day feeling anxious about money, worrying about bills, experiencing the sensation of not having enough, which frequency do you think you are broadcasting most powerfully? The universe responds to your dominant vibration, not your wishful thinking. This is why affirmations often fail. You repeat, "I am abundant, I am abundant, I am abundant," while your chest is tight with financial fear. The words carry no power because they are not aligned with your emotional frequency. You are lying to yourself, and the universe knows it. True manifestation requires matching your emotional frequency to your desired outcome. This is not about pretending to feel something you do not feel. That is spiritual bypassing, and it accomplishes nothing. It is about actually shifting your state, raising your vibration, expanding into the frequency of what you wish to attract. How is this done? Not through force, not through positive thinking that feels hollow, but through subtle, consistent practices that gradually tune your emotional instrument to a higher pitch. Gratitude is one such practice, but not gratitude as a mental exercise, not gratitude as a list you recite while feeling nothing. True gratitude is a state of being that arises when you genuinely appreciate what is already present in your life. When you find something, anything, to feel truly thankful for, your vibration shifts instantly. The frequency of gratitude is among the highest available to human consciousness. It opens you, expands you, lifts you into alignment with abundance, and from that frequency, more things worthy of gratitude begin to appear. This is why the ancient teachers said to give thanks for everything, as if it has already been received. Not because saying thank you creates obligation in the universe, but because feeling genuine gratitude puts you in the same vibrational state you would occupy if your desire had already manifested. You are not pretending. You are practicing. You are training your emotional body to hold the frequency of fulfillment rather than the frequency of wanting. There is a vast difference between these two states. Wanting implies absence. Fulfillment implies presence. One broadcasts lack, the other broadcasts completion. And the universe must respond to whichever signal you send most consistently. Joy operates similarly. Pure joy, not dependent on circumstances, but arising from being alive, from being conscious, from simply existing in this magnificent universe, is a high-frequency state. Children access this naturally. They can find joy in a cardboard box, in chasing bubbles, in spinning until they fall down dizzy. As adults, we lose this capacity, conditioning ourselves to believe that joy must be earned, that happiness is only appropriate when circumstances meet certain standards. But this is backwards. Joy is not a response to favorable conditions. Joy is a frequency that attracts favorable conditions. When you can find joy for no reason, when you can feel pleasure simply because you have drawn breath today, you have accessed one of the most powerful manifestation states available. From joy, everything flows more easily. Opportunities appear. People treat you differently. Synchronicities multiply, not because you earned these things, but because your frequency changed and the universe adjusted its response accordingly. This seems illogical to minds trained in cause and effect, effort and reward. But energy does not operate according to those rules. Energy resonates, harmonizes, attracts matching frequencies. That is the only rule that matters. Love is the highest frequency of all. Not romantic love, which is often mixed with attachment, neediness, and fear of loss, but unconditional love, the kind that radiates outward without expectation of return. When you can genuinely wish well for others, when you can feel compassion for all beings, when you can extend forgiveness to those who have harmed you, you are vibrating at a frequency so high that manifestation becomes nearly effortless. Masters who seem to manifest miracles are not using special techniques unknown to others. They are simply operating from love so consistently that reality bends toward them. But here is the difficulty. You cannot fake high-frequency emotions. You cannot pretend your way into these states. The universe does not respond to performance, it responds to authenticity. If you try to feel grateful while resentment burns underneath, you are not broadcasting gratitude. You are broadcasting resistance to gratitude. If you force yourself to feel joyful while depression weighs on your chest, you are not in joy. You are in conflict. And conflict is its own frequency, one that attracts more internal division and external obstacles. So, how do you genuinely shift your frequency when you are stuck in low vibration states? How do you move from fear to trust, from anger to peace, from despair to hope when these emotions feel so real, so justified, so impossible to simply abandon? The answer lies in acceptance, not bypassing. You must feel what you feel without judgment. You must allow the low-frequency emotions to move through you rather than resisting them. Because resistance to what is happening now keeps you trapped in that frequency. Acceptance allows movement. When you feel fear, acknowledge it. Feel it fully. Notice where it lives in your body. Breathe into it rather than away from it. and something remarkable happens. When you stop fighting fear, when you stop making it wrong, it begins to release. Not immediately, perhaps, not all at once, but gradually the grip loosens. And as fear moves through and begins to dissolve, you find yourself naturally rising into a calmer state. From calm, you can reach for hope. From hope, you can access optimism. From optimism, joy becomes possible. And from joy, the door to love stands open. This is the emotional scale, a ladder of frequencies. You cannot leap from the bottom to the top, but you can climb one rung at a time. If you are in despair, do not try to force yourself into joy. That distance is too great. Aim for neutrality first. From neutrality, reach for contentment. From contentment, gratitude becomes accessible. Each step up the ladder raises your overall vibration, and as your vibration rises, so does the quality of what you attract. The universe is always matching your frequency. Always. If you are angry, you will attract circumstances that justify more anger. If you are peaceful, you will attract circumstances that support more peace. This is not punishment or reward. This is simply resonance. Tuning forks demonstrate this principle perfectly. Strike one tuning fork at middle C and another tuning fork calibrated to middle C in the same room will begin to vibrate in sympathy, even without direct contact. They resonate because they share the same frequency. Different frequencies do not resonate together. They simply coexist without influencing each other. You are a living tuning fork, broadcasting your emotional frequency every moment. And the universe contains every possible frequency, every potential experience. Those experiences that match your current broadcast begin to resonate with you, to move toward you, to manifest in your reality. Those that do not match your frequency remain in potential, invisible to you, unavailable in your experience. This is why two people can live in the same city, work in the same industry, have similar backgrounds, and yet experience completely different realities. They are broadcasting different frequencies and therefore attracting different circumstances. When you understand this, you stop blaming external conditions for your struggles. You recognize that your external experience is a mirror of your internal frequency. And because you can change your frequency, you can change your experience. This is not easy. Habitual emotional patterns run deep. Neural pathways carved by years of repetitive thought do not dissolve overnight. But with consistent practice, with daily attention to your vibrational state, shifts occur. Gradually, your baseline frequency rises, and as it rises, your entire life begins to reorganize itself around the new signal you are broadcasting. This is why people speak of life transforming after trauma, after hitting bottom, after profound spiritual experiences. Not because the universe finally decided to be kind to them, but because the intensity of their experience shocked them out of habitual frequency. For a moment, or for weeks, or permanently, they began broadcasting differently, and reality responded immediately to the new signal. The circumstances were always available. The opportunities were always present. But they were vibrating at frequencies the person could not access until their own frequency shifted. The frequency of desire is not about wanting something intensely. Intense wanting is actually a low-frequency state because it emphasizes absence. The frequency of desire is about feeling fulfilled, complete, abundant, joyful, regardless of current circumstances. It is about becoming the vibrational match for what you wish to attract. If you want love, become love. If you want peace, become peace. If you want abundance, become abundance. This seems paradoxical. How can you become abundant when you lack abundance? But energetically, it is not only possible, but necessary. You embody abundance by focusing on what you have rather than what you lack, by feeling grateful for the food you eat and the air you breathe, by recognizing that you live with comforts that kings of ancient times could not imagine. You embody love by being loving toward yourself and others, by acting with kindness, by choosing compassion over judgment. You embody peace by releasing grudges, by surrendering the need to control outcomes, by trusting that you are supported even when you cannot see the path ahead. And as you embody these states, as you hold these frequencies consistently, the universe rearranges itself to match them. This is the secret that no vision board or affirmation technique can substitute for. You must become the frequency. You must be the vibration. You must live as if the desire has already been fulfilled, not as pretense, not as denial of current reality, but as a genuine shift in your energetic state. When you do this, when you sustain this, manifestation is not a question of if, but when. The universe has no choice but to deliver experiences that resonate with the signal you consistently broadcast. So the question is not, what do you want? The question is, who are you being? What frequency are you holding? How do you feel most of the time? These are the questions that determine your reality. Answer them honestly. And if you do not like the answers, know that you have the power to change them. One thought at a time, one emotion at a time, one choice at a time, you can climb the ladder of frequency. And as you climb, you will watch your reality transform, not through effort or struggle, but through the simple, profound magic of vibrational alignment. The frequency of desire is calling you to rise. It is asking you to stop broadcasting lack and start embodying fulfillment. It is inviting you to feel, genuinely feel, the emotions of your desired reality before that reality manifests. This is the bridge. This is the key. This is how thought becomes form and dream becomes reality. Tune your instrument, raise your frequency, and watch as the universe begins to play your song. Chapter 4. The Shadow Side of Wanting. There is a paradox at the heart of manifestation that confuses and frustrates most seekers. The more intensely you want something, the more powerfully you push it away. The tighter you grip your desire, the faster it slips through your fingers. What most call determination, what they believe is focused intention, is often nothing more than desperate grasping. And desperation, no matter how well disguised, broadcasts a frequency of lack so loudly that it drowns out any possibility of attraction. This is the shadow side of wanting, the hidden saboteur that derails more manifestation attempts than any other factor. Desire itself is not the problem. Desire is natural, beautiful, the engine of all creation. Without desire, nothing would ever be born, built, or brought into being. Desire is life, saying yes to expansion, to growth, to experiencing more of itself. But somewhere in the human psyche, desire becomes twisted. It stops being about joyful expansion and becomes about filling a perceived emptiness. It stops being an expression of wholeness and becomes evidence of incompleteness. And this transformation, this subtle corruption of desire's true nature, is the shadow that blocks manifestation. Watch what happens in your body when you think about something you desperately want. There is a tightness, a constriction, an aching emptiness. Your chest feels hollow. Your stomach clenches. Your breath becomes shallow. This is not the feeling of desire in its pure form. This is the feeling of lack. You are not experiencing the thing itself. You are experiencing its absence. And that absence, that sense of not having, is what you are broadcasting into the field. The universe, perfectly responsive, must give you more experiences of not having, because that is the vibration you are sending out. This is why the neediest people often remain lonely, why the most desperate for wealth stay poor, why those who want love most intensely drive potential partners away. Their wanting is contaminated with lack. Underneath the desire is a belief that they are incomplete without the thing they want. And this belief, far more powerful than any conscious intention, becomes the creator of their reality. The universe does not hear your words, it feels your frequency. And if your frequency screams, "I am not whole, I am missing something, I need this to be okay," then it must reflect that frequency back to you in the form of continued wanting. The ancient teachers understood this paradox well. They taught detachment, not as coldness or lack of caring, but as freedom from the desperation that poisons desire. They spoke of holding visions loosely, of wanting without needing, of moving toward goals while being complete in the present moment. This seemed contradictory to minds steeped in striving. How can you want something and not care if you get it? How can you hold a vision while being detached from its manifestation? But this is precisely the state that allows manifestation to occur. When you want something from wholeness, when your desire comes from a sense of already being complete and simply choosing to expand into more, there is no desperation in it. There is excitement, yes. Anticipation, certainly. But not the grasping neediness that repels what you seek. You become like a child hoping for a gift, delighted by the possibility, but not devastated by its absence. This lightness, this playfulness with desire, creates the perfect vibrational environment for manifestation. You have removed the resistance that blocked the flow. Consider someone who has been poor their entire life deciding they want wealth. On the surface, this seems like a clear intention. They visualize abundance. They affirm prosperity. They create vision boards covered with images of luxury. But underneath all this activity, there is a wound. That wound is screaming, "I am poor. I have always been poor. I will always be poor." Every cell in their body carries the memory of lack. Their neural pathways are carved deep with patterns of scarcity. Their subconscious beliefs are saturated with unworthiness. And no amount of conscious, positive thinking can override these deeper patterns. The shadow is louder than the light. This person will sabotage their own manifestation attempts in countless subtle ways. They will notice evidence of poverty wherever they look and dismiss evidence of abundance. They will make financial decisions based on scarcity thinking, even while affirming abundance. They will feel uncomfortable when money arrives and find ways to get rid of it quickly because holding wealth does not match their internal identity. Their conscious mind wants wealth, but their unconscious mind believes poverty is their natural state. And the unconscious mind, being more powerful, wins this battle every time. The way forward is not through more intense wanting. It is through healing the wound that makes you desperate. It is through recognizing that you are already whole, already complete, already abundant in ways that have nothing to do with money or relationships or achievements. You are breathing. You are conscious. You are alive in an infinite universe. This alone makes you worthy of everything you desire. You do not need to earn it. You do not need to prove yourself. You simply need to align with it. But how do you heal wounds, carved deep by years or decades of experience? How do you convince your subconscious that abundance is possible when every memory testifies to lack? The answer lies not in convincing, but in experiencing. Your subconscious mind does not respond well to logic or argument. It responds to evidence. So you must give it evidence. Small evidence at first, then gradually larger. You must show it that safety exists, that provision comes, that you are supported. Start with what is already present. Find the abundance that surrounds you even now. The abundance of air you breathe, never running out. The abundance of water that flows when you turn a tap. The abundance of food available at nearby stores. The abundance of information at your fingertips through technology. The abundance of beauty in a sunset or a flower. These are not minor things. They are evidence that the universe provides, that resources flow, that you live in a reality where needs are met. As you genuinely appreciate this abundance, as you feel real gratitude for these gifts, your vibration shifts. You move from the frequency of lack toward the frequency of sufficiency. And from sufficiency, you can reach toward abundance. Your subconscious mind begins to relax. The wound begins to heal. The desperate grasping loosens its grip, and in that loosening, space opens for manifestation to occur. The shadow side of wanting also shows itself through attachment to specific outcomes. You become fixated on exactly how your desire must manifest. You need it to happen this way, through that person, by this date. Any deviation from your rigid plan feels like failure. But this attachment is actually control, and control is fear's disguise. You are not trusting the universe to deliver. You are trying to force it to deliver according to your limited vision, and in that forcing, you close off pathways that might bring your desire in unexpected ways. True manifestation requires surrender. Not surrender as giving up, but surrender as letting go of the how and when and through whom. You hold the vision of what you want. You align your frequency with it. You take inspired action when opportunities arise, but you release attachment to the specific form it must take. You trust that if this door closes, a better one will open. You recognize that delay is not denial, but alignment. You accept that the universe can see patterns and possibilities you cannot, and that what arrives may be better than what you imagined. This surrender feels terrifying to the ego. The ego wants guarantees, certainty, control. It wants to know exactly how things will unfold and when. But life does not work that way. Creation is a dance between intention and uncertainty, between focus and fluidity. When you can hold your desire lightly, when you can want something while being okay if it comes in unexpected form or timing, you have transcended the shadow. You have moved into the mature relationship with desire that allows miracles. The shadow side of wanting also appears as the belief that you will only be happy when the desire manifests. This is perhaps the most insidious trap of all. You tell yourself that once you have the money, the relationship, the success, the achievement, then you will finally be at peace. Then you will finally feel worthy. Then your life will really begin. But this is a lie that postpones your happiness into an imaginary future that never arrives. Because when you do achieve that goal, your mind immediately finds a new condition that must be met before happiness is allowed. The truth is that happiness now, peace now, fulfillment now, is not only possible but essential for manifestation. You do not need circumstances to change before you can feel good. You can feel good now, in this moment, regardless of what has or has not yet manifested. And when you do, when you genuinely access joy and gratitude and love from your current position, you create the very frequency that attracts better circumstances. You stop waiting for life to make you happy and start generating happiness from within. And the universe, feeling that high-frequency broadcast, rushes to match it with high-frequency experiences. This requires a fundamental shift in perspective. Instead of, "I will be happy when," the thinking becomes, "I am happy now," and that happiness attracts more reasons to be happy. Instead of, "I need this to feel complete," the thinking becomes, "I am complete now," and from that completeness, I expand into more. Instead of, "I am broken and this will fix me," the thinking becomes, "I am whole, and this is a delightful addition to my already abundant life." Can you feel the difference in these statements? Can you sense how the energy shifts? The first versions carry desperation, neediness, lack. The second versions carry peace, power, abundance. And which version do you think the universe responds to more favorably? Which version allows manifestation to flow naturally rather than blocked by resistance? The shadow side of wanting is subtle. It hides behind good intentions and positive affirmations. It disguises itself as determination and focus. But underneath, it is fear. Fear that you will not get what you want. Fear that you are not worthy of it. Fear that life will deny you. Fear that you will remain incomplete. And fear, regardless of how it masks itself, broadcasts a frequency that attracts more fear. The way out of this shadow is paradoxical. You must want from a place of already having. You must desire from a place of sufficiency. You must reach for more while being content with now. This is not about suppressing desire or pretending you do not want what you want. It is about purifying desire, about removing the desperation that contaminates it, about returning to desire's true nature as joyful expansion rather than desperate grasping. When you have done this inner work, when you have healed the wounds that created desperation, when you have learned to want without needing, your manifestations begin to arrive with startling speed. What once felt impossible becomes almost effortless, not because you tried harder, but because you released the resistance that was blocking the flow all along. The shadow has been brought into light. The wound has been healed, and desire in its pure form becomes the creative force it was always meant to be. This is the work that most skip. They want the techniques, the formulas, the quick fixes. They do not want to face the shadow, to heal the wounds, to examine why they want what they want. But without this work, manifestation remains elusive. With it, manifestation becomes natural. The choice is yours. Continue grasping desperately and wonder why nothing comes. Or release the grip, heal the wound, want from wholeness, and watch reality transform. The shadow side of wanting is not your enemy, it is your teacher, showing you exactly where healing is needed. Listen to its lessons, and you will discover the power that has been waiting beneath it all along. Chapter 5. Becoming the Magnet. You have heard that you attract what you think about. You have been told to visualize your desires. You have created vision boards and repeated affirmations. Perhaps these practices have brought some results. Perhaps they have brought none at all. The missing piece, the element that transforms manifestation from occasional coincidence to reliable reality, is this understanding. You do not attract what you want. You attract what you are, not what you pretend to be, not what you wish you were, but what you actually embody at the deepest level of your being. This is what it means to become the magnet, not to try to pull things to you through force of will, but to be the thing itself, radiating its frequency so naturally that reality has no choice but to reflect it back to you. Consider a magnet. It does not strain or struggle to attract iron. It does not affirm that it is magnetic. It does not visualize iron filings drawing near. It simply is magnetic. Its nature, its very structure, creates a field that iron cannot resist. When iron comes within range of that field, it moves toward the magnet automatically, inevitably. This is the model for true manifestation. When you become the vibration of what you desire, when you embody it so completely that it radiates from every cell of your being, the physical manifestation must follow. But how do you become something you do not yet have? How do you embody wealth when your bank account is empty? How do you radiate love when you are alone? How do you feel successful when you have not achieved your goals? This seems impossible to the logical mind, yet it is precisely what is required. You must close the gap between who you are now and who you would be if your desire had already manifested. You must inhabit the feeling, the energy, the state of being of the fulfilled version of yourself, not as pretense, but as practice, not as denial of current reality, but as alignment with future reality. Imagine someone who embodies wealth, not someone who has money, but someone whose very presence communicates abundance. How do they carry themselves? How do they speak? What energy do they project? There is a calm confidence, a lack of desperation, a generosity of spirit. They do not worry about resources because they trust that resources flow. They do not grasp or hoard because they know more will come. They do not compare themselves to others because they are secure in their own value. These qualities have nothing to do with the actual amount of money in their bank account. These are states of being, and states of being can be cultivated regardless of current circumstances. You can practice these qualities now. You can carry yourself with the confidence of someone who is provided for. You can speak with the certainty of someone who trusts abundance. You can give with the generosity of someone who knows there is always more. As you practice these states, as you embody them more and more consistently, something remarkable happens. Your actions begin to change. You make different decisions. You notice different opportunities. You respond to situations differently, and these changes create different results, not through magic, but through the natural consequence of being a different person. The same principle applies to any desire. Want love? Become loving, not just when it is easy or when someone deserves it, but as your default way of being. Love yourself, love others, love life. Radiate love indiscriminately. As you do this, as you become a beacon of love rather than a seeker of love, people respond differently to you. Relationships shift. New connections form. And love, sensing its own frequency reflected in you, finds its way to you through channels you never could have predicted. Want peace? Become peaceful. Stop waiting for circumstances to calm down before you access calm. Access calm now, regardless of what swirls around you. Practice finding the still point within, even when chaos reigns without. As you embody peace more consistently, you will notice that chaotic circumstances arise less frequently, not because the universe suddenly decided to be nicer, but because you are no longer broadcasting the frequency that attracted chaos. You have changed channels, and a different show is playing. Want success? Define what success means to you, then embody that state now. If success means confidence, be confident today. If success means creativity, create today. If success means contribution, contribute today. Do not wait for external validation to feel successful. Declare yourself successful right now based on internal standards you have met. As you hold this frequency, as you move through the world as someone who considers themselves successful, opportunities that validate that identity begin to appear. Again, not through magic, but through alignment. Becoming the magnet requires honesty about where you currently are. You cannot pretend your way into a different state. If you are afraid, acknowledge the fear. If you are angry, feel the anger. If you are sad, allow the sadness. Denial creates resistance, and resistance blocks the flow. But acknowledgement creates space for transformation. Once you have felt what is true in the moment, you can make a choice. You can ask, what would I be feeling if my desire had already manifested? And then you can reach for that feeling, stretching yourself toward it, practicing it, even if it does not come naturally at first. This is not toxic positivity. This is emotional agility. You are not denying difficult emotions. You are not bypassing necessary grief or anger or fear. You are simply refusing to camp out in these states indefinitely. You feel them, you honor them, you extract their wisdom, and then you choose to shift toward states that serve your vision. This is maturity. This is mastery. This is the difference between being at the mercy of your emotions and being able to guide them. Your physical body plays a role in this embodiment. The way you hold your body affects the emotions you feel. Stand slumped with shoulders forward and head down, and notice how depression or anxiety intensify. Now stand tall, shoulders back, head up, chest open. Notice how the simple change in posture shifts your emotional state. Your body and your emotions are not separate systems. They influence each other constantly. You can use this connection deliberately. Adopt the posture of confidence even when you do not feel confident. Walk with purpose even when you feel lost. Speak with authority even when you doubt yourself. The body leads, the emotions follow, and the results manifest. Your environment also influences your ability to embody different states. If you want to feel abundant but your home is cluttered with broken things and unpaid bills, the environment is undermining your intention. Create an environment that supports the state you wish to embody. If you want peace, create peaceful spaces. If you want creativity, surround yourself with inspiration. If you want abundance, treat what you have with care and appreciation. Your outer world is a reflection of your inner world, but it is also a creator of your inner world. By intentionally shaping your environment, you make it easier to embody the states that serve your vision. The people you spend time with have enormous influence on what you can embody. If everyone around you is stuck in victim consciousness, complaining about their circumstances, blaming external factors for their problems, it becomes very difficult to maintain a creator consciousness. Their frequency pulls at yours. You either rise to lift them, which drains your energy, or you sink to join them, which abandons your vision. This is why the teachers have always said to choose your company carefully. Surround yourself with people who embody states you aspire to. Let their frequency remind you of what is possible. Allow their example to support your transformation. Becoming the magnet also requires consistency. You cannot embody wealth one day and lack the next, peace in the morning and chaos by afternoon, confidence on Monday and doubt by Tuesday, and expect clean manifestation. The universe responds to your dominant vibration, your habitual state, your baseline frequency. Occasional peak experiences, while valuable, do not override the signal you broadcast most of the time. This is why daily practice matters. Every morning, you make a choice about what state you will embody. Every evening, you review whether you maintained that state or abandoned it. Over time, these daily choices compound into a new baseline, and from that new baseline, new realities emerge. Meditation supports this process by training your mind to hold states deliberately. In meditation, you practice being without doing. You practice maintaining awareness without being pulled into every thought and emotion that arises. You practice embodying peace even when the mind wants to worry, embodying stillness even when the body wants to fidget. These skills translate directly to daily life. The better you become at maintaining chosen states during meditation, the better you become at maintaining them in challenging situations. And the more consistently you maintain them, the more powerfully you magnetize matching circumstances. But perhaps the most important element of becoming the magnet is releasing the identity you have built around not having what you want. You have told a story about yourself. I am someone who struggles with money. I am someone who cannot find love. I am someone who is not creative. These identity statements, repeated thousands of times consciously and unconsciously, have become the structure of your self-concept. And that structure determines what you can embody. If your identity says, I am not abundant, you literally cannot embody abundance without first releasing that identity. The two states are mutually exclusive. Releasing identity feels dangerous to the ego. Who will you be without your familiar stories? What will define you if not your struggles? The ego clings to identity even when that identity causes suffering, because at least it is known, familiar, safe in its predictability. But transformation requires letting the old self die so a new self can be born. Not metaphorically, actually. The person you have been, with all their patterns and beliefs and limitations, must be allowed to dissolve. And in that dissolution, space opens for a new identity to form. An identity that can embody states previously inaccessible. This death and rebirth is what spiritual traditions have always pointed toward. Baptism represents it. The phoenix rising from ashes symbolizes it. The caterpillar dissolving in the chrysalis before becoming a butterfly demonstrates it. You must be willing to lose who you have been to become who you are capable of being. And this willingness, this surrender of the known for the unknown, is perhaps the greatest act of courage in the human experience. But it is also the gateway to manifestation that no longer requires struggle. When you become the magnet, when you embody the state of your fulfilled desire, you stop chasing. Chasing implies separation, distance, lack. The magnet does not chase iron. It simply is, and iron comes. You do not chase opportunities. You become the frequency of success, and opportunities come. You do not chase love. You become love, and love finds you. You do not chase peace. You become peaceful, and peaceful circumstances arise. This is not passivity, this is power. The power of being rather than doing, of radiating rather than grasping, of attracting rather than hunting. The universe has been waiting for you to understand this. It has been waiting for you to stop trying so hard and start being more fully. It has been waiting for you to recognize that you already contain everything you seek. The abundance you want is not outside you. It is a frequency you can embody. The love you crave is not absent. It is a state you can become. The success you chase is not distant. It is an identity you can inhabit. Everything, absolutely everything, exists first as a possibility within you. And when you bring that possibility to life through consistent embodiment, the external world must reflect it. This is the secret hidden in plain sight. Become what you seek, embody what you desire, radiate the frequency, and watch as reality reorganizes itself around the new signal you broadcast. This is not law of attraction as commonly understood. This is law of being. And law of being is more powerful than any technique, any practice, any method. Because law of being is you, fully expressed, completely aligned, radiating your truth with such clarity that the universe has no choice but to deliver experiences that match. You are not trying to attract. You are attracting by being. And in that being, you discover the magnetic power that has been yours all along. Chapter 6. The Architecture of Thought. Every structure that stands, every city that sprawls across the landscape, every device you use, every system that organizes society, all of it began as thought. Before the architect drew plans, thought formed the vision. Before the engineer calculated load-bearing requirements, thought conceived the possibility. Before the builder laid the first stone, thought declared, "This will exist." Thought is not passive observation of reality. Thought is the initial spark from which all created things emerge. And if this is true for external creations, it is doubly true for your personal reality. The life you are living now, in all its details, pleasant and difficult alike, emerged from the architecture of thought you have been building, consciously or not, for years. Understanding this architecture, taking control of it, rebuilding it deliberately, is the work that transforms victims into creators. Your thoughts are not random events occurring by chance. They are patterns, habits carved deep through repetition. Neural pathways in your brain strengthen with use, weaken with neglect. The thoughts you have thought most often have created highways in your mind, paths of least resistance that your awareness automatically follows. This is why certain thoughts seem to appear uninvited. You are not choosing them consciously. Your brain is simply following the grooves you have carved through years of repetition. Worry thoughts, for example, arise automatically in those who have worried chronically. Self-critical thoughts appear without invitation in those who have judged themselves harshly. Lack-based thoughts dominate those who have focused on scarcity. But here is the profound realization. If these pathways were created through repetition, they can be changed through different repetition. Neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to reorganize itself, means you are not stuck with the thought patterns you currently have. You can carve new pathways. You can build different architecture. It requires intention, consistency, and patience, but it is absolutely possible. The question is whether you will take responsibility for this work or continue allowing your thoughts to run on autopilot, creating more of the same reality you have always known. The first step is observation without judgment. You must become aware of your habitual thought patterns before you can change them. This is harder than it sounds because most thoughts run beneath conscious awareness. You are thinking constantly, narrating your experience, interpreting events, making meaning, yet most of this happens automatically. To observe your thoughts, you must step back from the flow and watch it from a slight distance. This is meditation's gift. Through regular meditation practice, you develop the capacity to notice thoughts without being swept away by them. You see them arising, playing out, dissolving, and in that seeing, you gain choice. Many people discover through this observation that their thoughts are predominantly negative. Worry about the future, regret about the past, criticism of self and others, focus on problems rather than solutions. This revelation can be discouraging at first. But discouragement is itself just another thought, and it too can be observed and released. The point is not to judge yourself for negative thinking. The point is to recognize it so you can begin shifting it. You have been unconscious. Now you are waking up. And waking up always requires seeing what you preferred not to see. Once you have awareness of your thought patterns, you can begin the work of replacing them. This does not mean suppressing negative thoughts. Suppression creates resistance, and resistance amplifies what you are trying to avoid. Instead, you acknowledge the negative thought when it arises, then consciously choose a different thought to focus on. This is not positive thinking as usually taught, where you pretend problems do not exist. This is conscious thinking, where you acknowledge reality but choose to focus on elements that serve your vision rather than elements that reinforce limitation. For example, if you notice yourself thinking, "I never have enough money," you do not pretend this thought is not there. You feel it, recognize it, notice the familiar sensation it creates in your body. Then you choose to think, "I am learning to create more financial flow," or "money is beginning to arrive in unexpected ways," or even simply, "I am grateful for what I have." These alternative thoughts are not lies. They can be true simultaneously with the original thought, but they point your awareness in a different direction, one that opens possibility rather than closing it. And where your awareness points, energy flows. And where energy flows, circumstances follow. Repetition is key. You have thought your habitual thoughts thousands, perhaps millions of times. Expecting a few alternative thoughts to override such deeply carved patterns is unrealistic. But if you catch the negative thought pattern every time it arises and deliberately choose a different thought, you are beginning to carve a new pathway. Day by day, week by week, the old pathway weakens while the new one strengthens. Eventually, the new thought becomes more automatic than the old one. This is not suppression. This is reconstruction. You are literally rebuilding the architecture of your mind. Questions are particularly powerful tools for reshaping thought patterns. Instead of making statements that might feel untrue, ask questions that open your mind to possibility. How could I create more income? Is more effective than affirming, "I am rich," when every external indicator contradicts that statement. The question does not require you to lie to yourself. It simply directs your mind to search for answers. And the mind, when given a question, cannot help but look for responses. Over time, answers begin to appear, not mystically delivered from the universe, but noticed in your environment because your brain's reticular activating system is now filtering for them. Another layer of the architecture of thought is the beliefs that underlie individual thoughts. Beliefs are thoughts you have thought so often, with such emotional intensity, that they have solidified into assumptions you no longer question. You do not think, "I believe the sky is blue." You simply see the sky as blue because that belief is so deeply established it has become transparent. In the same way, you have beliefs about money, relationships, success, your own worthiness, and countless other topics that operate below conscious awareness. These beliefs form the foundation of your mental architecture, and if the foundation is flawed, nothing built upon it will stand. Excavating core beliefs is uncomfortable work. It requires looking at assumptions you have carried since childhood. It means questioning things you thought were simply true about the world or yourself. It demands that you consider the possibility that your fundamental understanding of reality might be incomplete or inaccurate. But this work is essential, because no matter how many positive thoughts you think, if they contradict a core belief, the belief wins. The conscious mind can think one thing, while the subconscious believes another. And the subconscious, being more powerful, determines what manifests. Common limiting beliefs include: money is hard to earn, success requires sacrifice, love never lasts, I am not good enough, the world is dangerous, I do not deserve happiness. These beliefs, once identified, can be tested. Is this belief absolutely true? Where did I learn it? Who taught me this? Does it serve my vision for my life? Often, you will discover that these beliefs were installed by others, parents, teachers, culture, media, during your formative years when you had no capacity to question them. They became your beliefs by default, not by choice. And what was installed by default can be uninstalled by decision. Replacing core beliefs requires more than just thinking new thoughts. It requires evidence that contradicts the old belief and supports the new one. Your subconscious mind is not convinced by logic. It is convinced by experience. So you must create small experiences that demonstrate the new belief is possible. If you believe money is hard to earn, you must create experiences where money arrives easily. Start small. Find a penny on the ground. Receive an unexpected refund. Get a gift. Notice these instances and allow yourself to feel grateful for them. Each time, you are providing evidence to your subconscious that money can arrive without struggle. Over time, as evidence accumulates, the belief begins to shift. This is why gratitude practices are so powerful. They train your mind to notice what is working rather than what is broken, to see evidence of abundance rather than lack, to recognize support rather than abandonment. And as your focus shifts, your beliefs begin to change. Beliefs are not fixed. They are plastic, malleable, responsive to consistent new evidence. But the evidence must be emotional, not just intellectual. Feeling grateful for small windfalls impacts your beliefs more than thinking about theoretical abundance. The architecture of thought also includes your self-concept, the collection of beliefs you hold about who you are. This is perhaps the most powerful structure in your mental landscape because it determines what you believe is possible for someone like you. If your self-concept includes, "I am not creative," then no amount of external encouragement will lead you to pursue creative endeavors. The identity constraint is too strong. But if your self-concept shifts to, "I am discovering my creativity," suddenly creative projects become options you can consider. Self-concept can be rebuilt deliberately through a process called identity shifting. You decide who you want to become, Then you start acting as that person would act, even in small ways. If you want to identify as healthy, you start making choices a healthy person would make. You do not wait until you feel healthy. You act as if you already are, and the feeling follows. If you want to identify as confident, you start behaving with confidence, adopting confident posture, speaking with certainty, taking actions despite fear. The behavior precedes the identity, and eventually the identity solidifies around the behavior. This is not pretending. This is practicing. You are trying on a new identity to see how it fits. At first, it feels awkward, like wearing clothes that are not quite your size. But as you practice, as you consistently choose the thoughts and behaviors of the new identity, it becomes more comfortable. Eventually, it feels natural. And when it feels natural, it has become real. You are no longer pretending to be confident. You are confident. The architecture has been rebuilt. Language is another critical component of thought architecture. The words you use, both internally and externally, shape your experience more than you realize. Words are not neutral labels. They carry vibration, emotion, meaning. Describing an event as a disaster creates a different reality than describing it as a challenge. Calling yourself stupid when you make a mistake impacts your self-concept more harshly than saying, "I made a mistake, but I am learning." The precision of language matters, not in the sense of political correctness, but in the sense of accurate representation of reality and useful framing for growth. Many people use language carelessly, exaggerating negatives, minimizing positives, speaking in absolutes that are rarely true. I always fail. Nothing ever works out. I never get what I want. These statements are demonstrably false when examined carefully, yet they are spoken and thought repeatedly. And each repetition strengthens the neural pathway, solidifies the belief, creates the identity. If you always fail, why bother trying? If nothing ever works, why make effort? If you never get what you want, why have desires? The language creates hopelessness, and hopelessness paralyzes action, and paralysis guarantees continued struggle. Shifting language does not mean lying or pretending problems do not exist. It means describing reality accurately and usefully. I have failed in the past, but I am learning from those experiences. Some things have not worked, but other things have, and I am discovering what works for me. I have not yet manifested what I want, but I am aligning myself with it. These statements are both true and empowering. They acknowledge current reality while keeping the door open to future change. And that opening, that sliver of possibility, is where transformation begins. The architecture of thought determines the life you build. Sloppy thinking creates sloppy realities. Disciplined thinking creates deliberate realities. Victim thinking generates victimhood. Creator thinking generates creation. The choice of what you allow to run in your mind is perhaps the most important choice you make every single day. Most people do not realize they have this choice. They believe thoughts happen to them beyond their control. And so they remain at the mercy of whatever mental patterns were installed in childhood, whatever beliefs were absorbed from culture, whatever fears were learned through experience. But you are not at the mercy of your thoughts. You are the architect. You can tear down structures that do not serve you. You can build new ones that do. You can create mental spaces of peace, power, possibility. You can install beliefs that open rather than close, that elevate rather than diminish, that liberate rather than imprison. This is the work, not overnight, not through a single practice, but through consistent daily attention to the thoughts you think, the beliefs you hold, the words you speak, the identity you embody. Thought by thought, belief by belief, word by word, you rebuild the architecture. And as the architecture changes, the reality constructed upon it changes as well. This is not theory. This is the mechanism by which all transformation occurs. You are already an architect. You have already built the structure you currently inhabit. The question is whether you will continue building unconsciously, allowing accident and inheritance to determine the design, or whether you will take up the tools deliberately and create the mental architecture worthy of the life you envision. The choice, as always, is yours. But know this: every thought you think, every belief you hold, every word you speak is either reinforcing the old structure or building the new one. There is no neutral ground. You are always constructing. The only question is what you are constructing and whether it serves your vision. Choose wisely, build deliberately, and watch as the external reality shifts to match the internal architecture you have created. Chapter 7: Time, Patience, and Divine Timing. One of the great frustrations in working with the law of attraction is the question of timing. You have aligned your thoughts, you have raised your vibration, you have done the inner work, yet nothing seems to change. Days pass, weeks pass, sometimes months or years, and the manifestation you desire remains stubbornly absent. Doubt creeps in. Perhaps the law does not work after all. Perhaps you are doing something wrong. Perhaps you are not worthy of receiving. This is where most people abandon the path, convinced they have been sold a lie. But the truth is different, more nuanced, more beautiful than the simplistic teachings suggest. The universe operates according to timing that serves your highest good, even when that timing frustrates your immediate desires. Human beings live primarily in linear time. You measure your life in hours, days, years. You plan according to calendars and deadlines. You expect causes to produce effects in predictable sequences. This makes perfect sense for navigating physical reality. But the universe, the field from which manifestations emerge, does not operate linearly. It moves in spirals, in cycles, in patterns that sometimes look like delays, but are actually alignments. What seems like the universe ignoring your request is often the universe arranging circumstances so that when your manifestation arrives, it comes in fuller form than you could have orchestrated on your own timeline. Consider planting a seed. You bury it in soil, water it, ensure it receives sunlight, then you wait. Not because you lack faith, not because the seed is defective, but because growth requires time. First, invisible changes occur beneath the soil. The seed absorbs water, the shell softens and splits, a root pushes downward. None of this is visible from above ground. To the impatient observer, nothing is happening, but everything is happening. The foundation is being laid for what will eventually push through the surface. If you dig up the seed to check on it, you destroy the process. Patience is not passive waiting. It is active trust in invisible workings. Your desires are seeds planted in the quantum field. The moment you hold a clear intention with elevated emotion, the process begins. But what happens next occurs in dimensions you cannot directly perceive. Circumstances must realign. People must be moved into position. Resources must become available. Obstacles must be cleared or transformed into stepping stones. All of this requires time, Not time as punishment, not time as test, time as necessary incubation. The universe is not denying your request. It is assembling the components that will allow your request to manifest in a way that serves not just your immediate want, but your ultimate good. This is where trust becomes essential. Trust is not believing that you will get exactly what you asked for, exactly when you demanded it. Trust is knowing that you are supported even when support is not immediately apparent. Trust is recognizing that the universe sees patterns and possibilities you cannot, that it has access to information beyond your current awareness, that it is working on your behalf in ways you might not understand until later. Trust is releasing your desperate grip on outcome and relaxing into the flow of a timing that serves your highest evolution. Many manifestations arrive not when you want them, but when you are ready for them. You might want a relationship now. But if you received it now, with your current wounds unhealed, your attachment patterns unexamined, your sense of wholeness dependent on another, the relationship would likely recreate familiar pain. So the universe delays, not to torment you, but to give you space to do the inner work that will allow you to hold a healthy relationship when it arrives. The delay is mercy, though it rarely feels like it in the moment. The same principle applies to financial abundance. You might want wealth now, but if your relationship with money is still rooted in scarcity consciousness, if you still believe at a deep level that you do not deserve wealth, if you have not yet learned to manage what you have, receiving large sums would lead to self-sabotage. You would find ways to lose it, to spend it unwisely, to return to the familiar state of lack. So the universe delays until you have shifted your consciousness, until you have become the person who can hold wealth without destroying it. Again, the delay serves you even when you do not see it that way. This is not meant to dismiss genuine suffering or to suggest that difficult circumstances are always for your benefit. Life is complex. Pain is real. Injustice exists. But within the realm of manifestation, understanding that timing serves evolution rather than thwarting desire can transform your relationship with waiting. Instead of growing bitter during delays, you can ask, what is this time preparing in me? What am I being called to learn or release or become? How is this delay actually serving my readiness for what I have requested? Sometimes the delay is not about your readiness, but about perfect synchronization. The right opportunity might not exist yet. The right person might not be available yet. The right circumstances might still be forming. The universe is coordinating not just your individual thread, but the entire tapestry. Your manifestation might require that 3 other people make certain choices. It might require that market conditions shift. It might require that technology develops. You cannot see all these moving pieces. You can only see your desire and its apparent absence. But behind the scenes, orchestration is occurring. This is why surrender is so powerful. Not surrender as giving up, but surrender as letting go of your insistence on how and when things must happen. You hold the vision. You maintain the frequency. You take inspired action when prompted, but you release attachment to the timing and the pathway. You trust that what is meant for you will arrive when the full constellation of factors aligns, and you use the waiting period not as dead time, but as preparation time. You work on yourself. You heal what needs healing. You grow what needs growing. You become more of who you need to be to receive what you have asked for. There is a concept in spiritual traditions called divine timing. It refers to the understanding that the universe has its own intelligence, its own wisdom, its own sense of when things should occur. Human timing is based on desire and impatience. Divine timing is based on readiness and perfection. Often these two timings do not match. You want something now. The universe knows that 6 months from now would serve you better. You can fight against divine timing, demanding immediate manifestation, growing frustrated when it does not come. Or you can align with divine timing, trusting that delay is not denial, that postponement is positioning. Aligning with divine timing does not mean becoming passive. It does not mean abandoning your desires or ceasing to take action. It means taking action from a place of trust rather than desperation, from patience rather than franticness. It means recognizing inspired action versus forced action. Inspired action feels energizing even when challenging. It arises naturally from your alignment. You feel pulled toward it. Forced action feels exhausting. You are pushing against resistance, trying to make something happen that is not yet ready. The universe will guide you when the timing is right. Your job is to stay aligned and alert so you recognize the guidance when it comes. Patience is one of the most underrated virtues in manifestation work. Modern culture conditions you to expect instant results, same-day delivery, immediate information, instant communication. This conditioning makes waiting feel intolerable. But everything of value requires gestation. Babies take 9 months. Oak trees take decades. Mastery takes years. Manifestation follows similar principles. The bigger the desire, the more complex the orchestration, the longer the gestation might be. This is not failure. This is natural process. Impatience does not speed things up. If anything, it slows things down by introducing resistance. Patience allows the process to unfold at its natural pace. There are signs that manifestation is in progress even when you cannot yet see physical results. Synchronicities increase. You keep encountering references to what you desire. People unexpectedly mention things related to your vision. Opportunities begin appearing even if they are not yet the final manifestation. These are breadcrumbs, indications that energy is moving, that the field is responding, that your request has been received and is being processed. Honor these signs. Feel grateful for them. They are confirmation that you are on the right path even if you have not reached the destination. But what if years pass with no signs? What if manifestation truly seems impossible? This is where faith is tested most severely. Faith is not believing something will happen despite evidence to the contrary. Faith is maintaining your alignment regardless of what evidence appears or does not appear. Faith is trusting that even if this specific desire does not manifest, you are still supported, still loved, still held by a universe that wants your evolution. This is mature faith. Not childish demands that the universe prove itself, but adult trust that your relationship with the universe is not transactional. You are not working a cosmic vending machine. You are participating in a creative dance that sometimes leads in unexpected directions. Sometimes what you think you want is not what your soul needs. Sometimes the manifestation does not come because a better option is being prepared. Sometimes the desire itself must evolve before it can be fulfilled. This is where attachment becomes the enemy of manifestation. If you are so fixated on one specific outcome that you cannot see alternatives, you might miss what the universe is actually offering. Flexibility within your vision allows the manifestation to arrive in forms you had not considered. The essence of what you desire might be available now in a different package than you expected. Rigidity, blinds you to it. The practice during waiting is to continue living fully. Do not put your life on hold until manifestation arrives. Do not refuse happiness now because your desire is not yet fulfilled. Engage with life. Pursue joy. Build meaning. Contribute value. The more you live as if you are already blessed, already successful, already complete, the faster manifestation seems to arrive. Not because you fooled the universe, but because you raised your frequency. And higher frequency attracts more quickly. Divine timing is not an excuse for inaction. It is not permission to be passive. It is recognition that there is a rhythm to creation, that there are seasons in life just as there are in nature. There is a time for planting and a time for harvest, a time for building and a time for receiving, a time for inner work and a time for outer expression. Knowing which season you are in, honoring that season rather than fighting it, allows you to move with the current rather than against it, and moving with the current, even when it seems to flow away from your goal, ultimately brings you home more smoothly than fighting ever could. So, when delays arise, when manifestation seems impossible, when your patience is tested beyond what you thought you could endure, remember this: the universe is not punishing you. It is not testing you to see if you are worthy. It is not indifferent to your desires. It is orchestrating. It is aligning. It is preparing you and the circumstances so that when the moment arrives, everything falls into place with grace. Your job is to hold the vision, maintain the frequency, trust the timing, and allow the universe to work its magic according to rhythms older and wiser than your impatience. Time, patience, and divine timing are not obstacles to manifestation. They are the very conditions that make manifestation possible in its highest form. Trust the process. The universe knows what it is doing, and your desire is already on its way. Chapter 8: The Alchemy of Gratitude. If there is one practice that can transform your relationship with manifestation faster than any other, it is gratitude. Not gratitude as a polite acknowledgement of gifts received, not gratitude as a social courtesy or spiritual obligation, but gratitude as an alchemical force that transmutes the base metal of your current circumstances into the gold of abundant experience. Gratitude, when practiced genuinely and consistently, is perhaps the most powerful tool available for raising your vibration, shifting your focus, and aligning with the frequency of everything you wish to attract. Yet, it is also one of the most misunderstood and superficially applied practices in the manifestation toolkit. Most people think of gratitude as something you feel after you receive what you want. Someone gives you a gift, you feel grateful. You achieve a goal, you feel grateful. You avoid misfortune, you feel grateful. This is natural gratitude, arising spontaneously in response to positive circumstances. But this is not the gratitude that changes your reality. This is reactive gratitude, effect-based, conditional upon getting what you wanted. The gratitude that transforms is proactive, cause-based, existing independent of circumstances. It is gratitude that arises not after you receive, but before, not because things went well, but regardless of how they went, not as response, but as initiation. When you feel genuinely grateful before manifestation occurs, something remarkable happens in your energy field. Your vibration shifts instantly from lack to abundance. Think about the feeling of gratitude. It is expansive, warm, opening. It softens the heart. It relaxes the body. It elevates consciousness. You literally cannot feel true gratitude and feel lacking simultaneously. The two states are incompatible. Gratitude declares at a frequency level, I have received, I am blessed, I am abundant. And the universe, responding to frequency rather than words, must match that declaration with corresponding experiences. This is why the ancient teachings emphasized giving thanks as if the desire has already been fulfilled, not as a trick to fool the universe, but as a technique to shift your own frequency. When you thank the universe for something that has not yet manifested in physical form, you are placing yourself in the emotional and energetic state you would occupy if it had manifested. You are practicing the feeling. You are rehearsing the vibration. And in that rehearsal, you become a vibrational match for the physical manifestation. The universe does not know the difference between gratitude for something received and gratitude for something anticipated. It only knows the frequency. And frequency attracts matching circumstances. But here is where most people stumble. They try to practice gratitude for manifestations that have not yet occurred, and it feels false. They repeat, "Thank you for my abundance," while staring at empty bank accounts, and the words feel hollow. They whisper, "Thank you for my perfect partner," while sitting alone, and the loneliness only intensifies. This is because they are engaging in mental gratitude without emotional substance. They are speaking words without embodying the feeling, and the universe responds to feeling, not words. Empty affirmations carry no creative power. Felt emotions create worlds. The bridge to authentic gratitude for the not yet manifest is to start with gratitude for what is already present. This is not about pretending current circumstances are perfect. This is about training yourself to notice what is actually working, what you do already have, what blessings currently surround you, even in the midst of challenge. This might seem trivial. What difference does it make to feel grateful for breath, for running water, for the ability to see? But these small gratitudes are training wheels. They teach your emotional body how gratitude feels. And as you practice gratitude for small things, the capacity to feel it for larger things grows. Consider someone struggling with poverty who wants to manifest wealth. If they begin with, "Thank you for my millions," the gap between the statement and their felt reality is too vast. Disbelief, not gratitude, is what they actually feel. But if they begin with, "Thank you for the food I ate today," something shifts. That gratitude is authentic because the food was real. From there, they can expand. "Thank you that I have clothes to wear, a bed to sleep in, this moment of safety." Each genuine gratitude strengthens the muscle. Eventually, they can feel authentic gratitude for financial flow even before large amounts have appeared, because they have trained themselves to see and appreciate the flow that is already occurring, even in small increments. This is progressive gratitude. You do not leap to the top of the ladder. You climb one rung at a time, each step feeling authentic, each new level building on the one before. And as you climb, your baseline vibration rises. You are not pretending to be grateful. You are becoming grateful. You are shifting from a consciousness of lack to a consciousness of abundance, one small acknowledgement at a time. And this shift, this fundamental reorientation of attention from what is missing to what is present, changes everything. Gratitude also functions as a focusing mechanism. Your attention has been trained to notice problems, threats, lacks. This is evolutionary biology protecting you from danger. But in modern life, this negativity bias creates suffering. You glance past 1,000 things that are working to fixate on the one thing that is broken. You ignore health until disease appears. You take relationships for granted until they end. You overlook today's abundance while worrying about tomorrow's potential lack. This habitual focus on the negative creates a self-reinforcing cycle. You see evidence of what is wrong, which makes you feel worse, which makes you notice more of what is wrong, which makes you feel even worse. The spiral descends. Gratitude interrupts this pattern. When you deliberately focus on what you appreciate, you are training your reticular activating system to notice different things. At first, this feels forced. But with repetition, it becomes natural. You begin to see blessings you previously overlooked. Small kindnesses that would have gone unnoticed suddenly register. Beauty that was always present finally captures your attention. Opportunities that were invisible become obvious. Nothing in the external world has changed, but your perception of it has transformed. And perception is reality. What you consistently perceive is what you consistently experience. The practice of gratitude is simple but not easy. Each morning, before you reach for your phone or rush into the day's demands, pause. Find 3 things to feel genuinely grateful for, not to think about, but to feel. Let the gratitude move through your chest. Feel it warm your heart. Allow it to soften your face into a smile. This is not intellectual exercise. This is emotional alchemy. The more authentically you can feel the gratitude, the more powerfully it shifts your frequency. 3 minutes of felt gratitude each morning recalibrates your energetic baseline for the entire day. Throughout the day, whenever you notice lack-based thinking arising, interrupt it with gratitude. Worried about money? Pause and find something to appreciate about your current financial situation, even if it is simply, "I have enough for today." Feeling lonely? Pause and appreciate the relationships you do have, even if they are not the exact form you desire. Frustrated by obstacles? Pause and appreciate lessons you are learning, strength you are building, clarity you are gaining. This is not denial. This is reframing. You are not pretending problems do not exist. You are choosing to give more attention to what is working than to what is not. In the evening, a gratitude review solidifies the practice. Look back over the day and find things to appreciate. The unexpected kindness from a stranger, the meal you enjoyed, the progress you made on a project, the moment of peace you carved out, the challenge that taught you something valuable. As you do this each night, you are training your mind to search for things to appreciate. And what the mind searches for, it finds. Over weeks and months, your entire perception shifts. Life begins to look different, not because circumstances have dramatically improved, but because you are seeing what was always there but previously invisible to you. Gratitude practiced at this depth also heals resentment. Resentment is one of the lowest frequency states. It poisons your energy field, blocks manifestation, and harms your physical health. Yet many people cling to resentments as if letting go would be betrayal, as if forgiveness would mean what happened was okay. But holding resentment is like drinking poison and waiting for the other person to die. It only destroys you. Gratitude is the antidote. Not gratitude for the harm done, but gratitude for strength gained, for lessons learned, for freedom to move forward. When you can look at painful experiences and find something to appreciate in how they shaped you, you have transmuted lead into gold. This does not happen quickly. It requires time and inner work. But when you arrive at this place, when you can genuinely feel grateful even for hardships because of how they contributed to your growth, you have achieved a level of spiritual maturity that makes you nearly unstoppable. Nothing can keep you in victim consciousness. Nothing can lower your frequency for long. You have learned to extract value from everything, to see gift even in difficulty, to maintain gratitude as a constant regardless of external circumstances. This is mastery. And from this mastery, manifestation becomes almost effortless. Not because you are manipulating the universe, but because you are operating from such a high frequency that aligned circumstances are simply drawn to you. You are living in abundance consciousness. You are radiating appreciation. You are vibrating gratitude. And the universe, always responsive to frequency, must deliver more experiences worthy of gratitude. The more you appreciate, the more you receive that is appreciable. This is not a reward system. This is vibrational matching. You have tuned yourself to abundance, and abundance flows to its own frequency. Gratitude is also contagious. When you genuinely embody it, others feel it. Your presence becomes uplifting. People want to be around you because you make them feel better about themselves and about life. Opportunities come through other people. Blessings arrive via human channels. When you are a source of positive energy, when you radiate appreciation and abundance, you become someone that the universe can send opportunities through. Doors open not because you are manipulating, but because you are magnetic. And magnetism rooted in gratitude is the most powerful kind because it comes from overflow rather than neediness, from fullness rather than grasping. If you do nothing else, if you forget every other practice and principle in this teaching, practice gratitude. Make it your religion. Make it your meditation. Make it your moment-by-moment choice. Find things to appreciate constantly. Feel the appreciation in your body. Let it change your face, your posture, your energy, and watch, over time, as everything shifts, as circumstances improve, as opportunities multiply, as manifestations arrive, not because gratitude is a magic spell, but because gratitude is the frequency of abundance itself. And when you vibrate abundance, abundance must vibrate back. This is the alchemy. This is the transformation. This is the key that unlocks the door you have been pushing against for so long. Gratitude. Simple, profound, transformative. Make it your practice. Make it your life. And prepare for reality to reorganize itself around the frequency you consistently broadcast. Chapter 9. Living as the Attraction. Everything you have learned converges here in this final principle. You do not practice the law of attraction. You do not use it occasionally like a tool you pick up when needed. You live as the attraction. You become, in your very essence, the embodiment of what you wish to experience. This is not a technique. This is a way of being. It is the culmination of all the preceding teachings, the integration of knowledge into lived experience. When you reach this stage, manifestation is no longer something you do. It is who you are. And from this place of being, creation flows naturally, continuously, effortlessly. Living as the attraction means you have transcended the separation between yourself and your desires. You no longer see the thing you want as separate from you, existing out there, needing to be pulled toward you. You recognize that the essence of what you desire already exists within you. If you desire peace, you already are peace at your core. If you desire love, you already are love in your essence. If you desire abundance, you already are abundance in your nature. The physical manifestation is simply the external reflection of an internal reality. And when the internal reality is fully embodied, the external reflection must follow. This is a radical shift from how most people approach manifestation. Most people believe they are incomplete, lacking something essential that exists outside themselves. From this perspective, manifestation is about acquiring what is missing. But this perspective itself is the block. As long as you perceive yourself as incomplete, you vibrate incompletion. And incompletion attracts experiences that confirm incompletion. You remain in the loop, always seeking, never finding, because the seeking itself broadcasts lack. Living as the attraction dissolves this loop, you recognize your inherent completeness, not arrogance that you need nothing, not spiritual bypassing that pretends pain does not exist, but genuine recognition that your essence, your true nature, lacks nothing. Your circumstances may be incomplete, your knowledge may be partial, your skills may be developing, but you, at the core of your being, are whole. And from that wholeness, you can expand into more without the desperation that blocks flow. This wholeness is not something you achieve. It is something you remember. You were born whole. Life experiences, conditioning, wounds, and beliefs created the illusion of fragmentation. But the fragmentation is only illusion. Beneath it, the wholeness has always been present, waiting for recognition. When you stop trying to fix yourself, stop believing you are fundamentally broken, stop seeking completion outside yourself, you discover what has always been true. You are already what you seek. The journey was never about becoming. It was about remembering. From this recognition, action changes. You no longer grasp at opportunities from fear of scarcity. You choose them from enthusiasm for expansion. You no longer cling to relationships from fear of loneliness. You engage with them from overflow of love. You no longer chase success to prove your worth. You express your gifts because expression is natural to you. The motivations shift from external to internal, from fear to love, from lack to abundance. And actions taken from these elevated motivations carry different energy. They flow more smoothly. They attract more support. They create better results. Living as the attraction also means you have integrated all the practices into your being. Gratitude is not something you do each morning. It is a constant background state. High vibration is not something you reach for during meditation. It is your baseline. Positive thought is not occasional discipline. It is natural inclination. All the techniques and practices that once required effort have become second nature. This is mastery, not perfection, but integration. You still have difficult moments, but you no longer dwell in them. You feel challenges, but you do not identify as them. You encounter obstacles, but you see them as temporary rather than permanent. When you live as the attraction, you become a walking example of your teachings. People notice something different about you. They might not be able to name it, but they feel it. There is a lightness, a confidence, a peace that radiates from you. Opportunities seem to find you, synchronicities follow you, luck appears to favor you, but it is not luck, it is frequency. You are broadcasting at such a consistent high frequency that the universe delivers matching high-frequency experiences. You have become a magnet, not through trying, but through being. This state is available to everyone, but not everyone will reach it. not because it is difficult, but because it requires surrender of victim consciousness. It requires taking full responsibility for your reality. It requires admitting that you have been creating your experience all along, even the parts you did not consciously choose. This admission is unbearable for many. It is easier to blame circumstances, other people, bad luck. Easier to see yourself as powerless. Easier to remain in struggle while calling it noble. But ease is not the path to freedom. Responsibility is. When you accept full responsibility, when you recognize yourself as creator rather than victim, everything shifts. You stop waiting for external circumstances to change before you can be happy. You stop blaming others for your suffering. You stop giving your power away to conditions beyond your control. You claim your sovereignty, and from that sovereignty, you consciously create. Not by controlling everything, but by aligning with everything. Not by forcing outcomes, but by becoming the frequency that attracts desired outcomes naturally. Living as the attraction is also living in the present moment, not dwelling in past regrets or future anxieties, but fully inhabiting now. The only moment in which you can broadcast frequency is this moment. The only time you can make a choice is this moment. The only place creation occurs is this moment. When you are fully present, when you are here now with awareness and intention, you maximize your creative power. Past cannot be changed, and future does not yet exist. But now, this eternal now, is where all power resides. And when you live in this now, consistently, consciously, you are living as the attraction. This present moment awareness allows you to catch negative patterns before they spiral. You notice the first arising of a fear-based thought. You feel the initial tightening of scarcity consciousness. You sense the beginning of victim story. And because you are present, you can intervene. You can choose a different thought, shift to a higher frequency, reframe the narrative. You do not allow negative patterns to run unchallenged. You become the guardian of your own consciousness, alert to what arises, empowered to guide it. Living as the attraction means you are constantly tuning yourself, not as exhausting self-improvement project, but as natural maintenance of your instrument. A musician tunes their instrument before playing. An athlete stretches before competing. You tune your frequency throughout the day. When you notice it has dropped, you do not berate yourself. You simply adjust. A moment of gratitude. A shift in posture. A different thought. Small adjustments that bring you back to alignment. Over time, these adjustments become automatic. You develop sensitivity to your own frequency and skill in shifting it. This is emotional intelligence in action. But living as the attraction is not solitary practice. You exist in relationship with other beings, all of whom are broadcasting their own frequencies. Some relationships elevate you, others drain you. Part of living as the attraction is choosing your environment, your company, your inputs consciously. You cannot control what frequency others broadcast, but you can choose how much time you spend exposed to frequencies that pull you down. This is not about judgment or superiority. This is about honoring the reality that you are affected by the fields you inhabit. Choose environments that support your frequency. Spend time with people who elevate rather than diminish. Consume media that inspires rather than depresses. These are practical choices that have vibrational consequences. Living as the attraction also includes contribution. When you have aligned with abundance, when you are living from overflow, giving becomes natural. not forced charity or obligatory generosity, but spontaneous sharing from fullness. You have gifts to offer, perspectives to share, value to contribute, and in the giving, you reinforce your abundance consciousness. Scarcity hoards, abundance gives. When you give freely, from joy rather than duty, from overflow rather than depletion, you affirm to yourself and to the universe that you have more than enough. And that affirmation strengthens the flow. The final aspect of living as the attraction is trust. Deep, unwavering trust that you are supported, that the universe is benevolent, that life is happening for you rather than to you. This trust is not blind faith. It is earned through experience. Each time you practice the principles and see results, trust deepens. Each time you surrender control and watch things work out, trust strengthens. Each time you align your frequency and manifest what you desire, trust becomes more solid. Eventually, trust becomes unshakable. Not because life has become easy, but because you have learned that you can handle whatever arises. You trust yourself. You trust the process. You trust the universe. And from that trust, you live openly, freely, abundantly. Living as the attraction is the destination of this entire teaching. Everything else leads here. The knowledge, the practices, the shifts, all of it converges in a state of being where you are no longer trying to manifest. You are manifestation itself. You are the creative force embodied. You are the universe expressing itself through human form, and in that expression, you discover the truth that was always waiting. You were never separate from what you desired. You were never powerless to create. You were never less than whole. These were illusions, necessary perhaps for the journey, but ready now to be released. So, step into this state, not as future possibility, but as present reality. You are the attraction now, in this moment. With all your imperfections and incomplete manifestations, with all your remaining wounds and growing edges, you are still the attraction. Because attraction is not a state of perfection, it is a state of alignment. And alignment is available to you right now, regardless of circumstances, regardless of history, regardless of what has or has not yet manifested. Choose it, embody it, live it, and watch as your entire existence reorganizes itself around the frequency you have claimed as your own. This is your power. This is your destiny. This is who you have always been, waiting to remember. The attraction is you. The creator is you. The power is you. And it always has been. Chapter 10. The Final Revelation. You have journeyed through the hidden teachings. You have explored the ancient origins and the modern science. You have discovered the frequency of desire and faced its shadow side. You have learned to become the magnet, to architect your thoughts, to navigate divine timing, to practice the alchemy of gratitude, and to live as the attraction itself. Each chapter has peeled away another layer of illusion, revealing deeper truths about the relationship between consciousness and reality. But there is one final revelation, one ultimate truth that ties everything together and completes your understanding. This truth is simple, profound, and life-altering. The final revelation is this: there is no separation between you and the universe, none. You are not a small, isolated being existing in a vast, indifferent cosmos, trying desperately to manipulate external forces to grant you what you want. You are the universe itself, temporarily focused into this particular perspective, this particular body, this particular lifetime. The consciousness that looks out through your eyes is the same consciousness that formed the stars and spun the galaxies. The awareness that reads these words is not separate from the awareness that orchestrates the dance of atoms and the unfolding of destiny. You are not in the universe. You are the universe, experiencing itself from a unique vantage point. This is not metaphor. This is not spiritual poetry meant to make you feel better. This is actual truth, confirmed by the deepest insights of both ancient wisdom and modern physics. At the quantum level, everything is connected. At the level of consciousness, everything is one. The boundaries you perceive between self and other, between inside and outside, between subject and object, are constructs of perception, not features of ultimate reality. They are useful for navigating daily life, but they are not fundamentally true. If this is accurate, if you truly are not separate from the universe, then the law of attraction takes on entirely new meaning. You are not attracting things from outside yourself. You are reorganizing the field of infinite potential from within yourself. You are not petitioning an external power to grant your wishes. You are expressing your nature as creative consciousness. The universe does not respond to your thoughts because it is listening from outside. The universe responds to your thoughts because your thoughts are movements within the universe itself. You are not having a conversation with something other than yourself. You are having a conversation with yourself through apparent others. This understanding dissolves the last vestiges of powerlessness. If you are the universe, then there is no external authority to appeal to, no cosmic judge determining whether you deserve what you desire, no gatekeeper deciding who gets abundance and who gets lack. There is only you, consciousness creating experience from infinite possibility. The question is not whether you can create. You are already creating. You have always been creating. The only question is whether you will create consciously or unconsciously, deliberately or by default, in alignment with your conscious desires or in opposition to them. But this revelation also carries profound responsibility. If you are the universe experiencing itself, then every person you encounter is also the universe experiencing itself from a different perspective. There is no other to blame, no enemy to fight, no one fundamentally separate from you. The person who wronged you is you in another form. The world that seems hostile is you reflected back. This does not excuse harmful behavior. It does not mean you should tolerate abuse, but it does mean that judgment and hatred harm only yourself. When you curse another, you curse yourself. When you withhold love from another, you withhold it from yourself. When you see another as less than, you diminish yourself. This interconnectedness is why your consciousness matters. Your thoughts do not stay confined to your head. They ripple through the field. Your emotions do not remain private. They broadcast energy that others feel. Your state of being affects the whole, just as the whole affects your state of being. You are both individual wave and entire ocean. What you do to yourself, you do to the world. What you do to the world, you do to yourself. There is no separation, only the illusion of it. When you truly grasp this, when you embody this understanding, not just intellectually but experientially, compassion arises naturally, not as moral obligation, but as recognition of truth. How can you hate another when the other is you? How can you wish harm to anyone when harming them harms you? How can you remain in victim consciousness when you recognize you are both the creator and the creation? Separation is the root of all suffering. Unity is the foundation of all peace. And this unity is not something you must create. It already exists. You simply need to remember it. The final revelation also explains why manifestation sometimes seems to fail. When your conscious desires contradict your deeper knowing, when your surface wants conflict with your soul's intention, manifestation becomes confused. You are the universe trying to go in two directions simultaneously. Part of you wants comfort, while another part wants growth. Part of you craves security, while another part yearns for adventure. Part of you seeks approval, while another part demands authenticity. These internal conflicts create opposing signals. The universe, which is you, receives contradictory instructions, and so it delivers mixed results or delays or manifestations that do not quite satisfy because they were never aligned with your wholeness. Resolution comes through integration, not choosing one desire over another, but discovering the deeper desire beneath all surface wants. What you truly want is not the specific thing. It is the feeling you believe the thing will give you. You do not want money. You want the freedom, security, or pleasure you believe money provides. You do not want a relationship. You want the love, connection, or validation you believe a relationship will bring. When you identify the core feeling, you can often access it directly, without waiting for circumstances to provide it. And when you access it directly, when you become the feeling itself, circumstances that match that feeling begin to appear. This is the master key. Feel the fulfillment before the manifestation. Be the love before the beloved appears. Embody the abundance before the money flows. Experience the peace before the chaos calms. This is not pretending. This is accessing the truth that the thing you desire exists first as a frequency, a state of consciousness, and only secondarily as a physical form. When you claim the frequency, the form must follow. This is law, not arbitrary, not uncertain, inevitable. The final revelation asks you to expand your identity beyond the small self you have believed yourself to be. You are not merely this body, this personality, this history. These are costumes worn temporarily. Beneath them, you are infinite consciousness, eternal awareness, creative power itself. You have never been born in the ultimate sense, and you will never die. You are wearing this life like a garment, experiencing limitation for the sheer adventure of transcending it, forgetting your nature so you can remember it, creating problems so you can discover your capacity to solve them. This is the cosmic game, hide and seek played by consciousness with itself. You hid your true nature from yourself so thoroughly that you believed you were powerless, limited, mortal, and now you are seeking, finding clues, remembering pieces, awakening to who you really are. The law of attraction is one of those clues. It whispers, you are not powerless. You create reality. You are divine consciousness temporarily focused in human form. And when you truly hear this whisper, when you let it penetrate deeper than intellectual understanding, everything transforms. You stop taking life so seriously because you remember it is play. You stop fearing death because you know it is transition, not ending. You stop grasping at things because you understand you are the source from which all things emerge. You stop comparing yourself to others because you recognize They are you, expressions of the same consciousness wearing different costumes. You stop seeking validation externally because you validate yourself as the universe validating itself. You are complete. You have always been complete. And from that completion, you play joyfully with the forms of life, creating, experiencing, enjoying, without the desperate neediness that once drove all your actions. This is freedom. Not freedom from circumstances, but freedom within circumstances. Not escape from the world, but liberation while remaining in it. You still feel pain, but you are not destroyed by it. You still encounter challenges, but you are not defined by them. You still have desires, but you are not enslaved to them. You move through life with the grace of one who knows that whatever happens, you remain untouched at the deepest level. The forms change, but your essence is eternal. Circumstances shift, but your nature is unchanging, and from that unshakable foundation, you create magnificently. The teachings end here, but your journey continues. Everything you have learned is only the beginning. The real work happens in your daily life, in the moment-by-moment choices you make, in the thoughts you think, the emotions you feel, the actions you take. Will you remember what you have learned, or will you slip back into unconsciousness? Will you practice these principles consistently, or will you allow old patterns to reclaim you? Will you live as the creator you are, or will you return to victim identity? These questions are answered not once, but continuously. Awakening is not a single event, but an ongoing choice. Each moment offers the option to align or resist, to remember or forget, to create consciously or unconsciously. Choose awakening. Choose alignment. Choose conscious creation. Not perfectly, not always, but more often than not. And over time, the new patterns will become as automatic as the old ones were. The creator consciousness will become your default. The frequency of abundance will become your baseline, and the life you once dreamed of will become the reality you inhabit. This is possible for you. Not someday, not when you are more worthy, not after you have done more work. Now, right now, in this moment, you can choose to live as the universe experiencing itself, as the creator wearing human form, as infinite consciousness focused temporarily in finite circumstances. This choice changes everything. It does not immediately solve all problems or manifest all desires, but it shifts the foundation from which you engage with life. And from that shifted foundation, transformation becomes not just possible, but inevitable. The universe has been speaking to you through these teachings. But more than that, you have been speaking to yourself. These truths were already alive in you, waiting for recognition. The universe that wrote these words is the same universe that reads them. There is no separation. There never was. And now that you know this, now that you have reached the final revelation, you can never fully forget, even if you try, even if you slip back into old patterns temporarily. The seed of remembering has been planted, and seeds, once planted in fertile soil, always grow toward light. You are the light. You are the seed. You are the soil. You are the gardener. You are all of it, playing all the roles, experiencing all the perspectives, creating all the circumstances. This is your power. This is your truth. This is your destiny. Not something you must achieve, but something you must remember. The remembering has begun, and it will never stop. You are waking up from the dream of separation, the illusion of powerlessness, the false belief that you are anything less than divine consciousness wearing temporary human form. Welcome home. Welcome to the truth of who you are. Welcome to the power you have always possessed. Welcome to the life you have always been creating. Welcome to the final revelation that is actually the first truth. You are the universe, and the universe is unlimited in its creative potential. Therefore, so are you. Create wisely, create lovingly, create consciously, and watch as reality bends, shifts, and transforms itself into the mirror of your highest vision. This is the law of attraction in its ultimate expression, not technique, not practice, but truth. The truth of your nature as creator. And from this truth, all things become possible. All things. If this teaching has touched something deep within you, if these words have awakened a recognition of truths you have always known, support this channel by clicking the like button below. Share this video with others who are seeking, who are ready to remember, who are prepared to step into their power as conscious creators. Subscribe to the Sacred Treasure so you never miss teachings that continue your awakening journey. Leave a comment sharing your insights, your experiences, your commitment to living as the attraction you were always meant to be. The universe brought you here for a reason. Honor that reason. Let these teachings take root, practice them daily, and watch as your life transforms in ways you once thought impossible. The power is yours. The choice is yours. The moment is now. Create magnificently.